Hello, audience from the Budapest International Documentary Film Festival. My name is Manuel Contreras. I'm a programmer of the festival. And now we're here with Emanuele Gerosa, director of One More Jump. He's right now in Rovereto because of the actual circumstances. That's why we're going to have a conversation online. Emanuele was here, was part of the festival in 2016 as well, because we screened his film Between Sisters, and now we have him again with us. Hello, Emanuele, how are you? Good to see you again.
Hello, Manuel. Thanks for this interview, for this conversation, and for having selected the film. Obviously, this makes me very, very happy and proud. And I'm fine, thanks. I'm only, obviously, I think it's a real pity that we cannot meet this year, me, you, and the other people of the festival and the audience, especially the audience. But we all know that the situation is not allowing us to meet, to be there in person. So anyway, it's great that you have managed to organize the festival anyway, and I'm very, very happy for that, and congratulations for that effort.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing your film with us, because we saw it and we selected the film. One More Step, which is the impression that I have with this film, or the way you constructed the film, is that we see a film about two friends, but these are two lives which they mirror each other. It's like as if we're watching a film which is about one person, one in the future and one in the past, or both in the present, but it's like as if we're seeing one continuous life marked by present and past happening at the same time. So departing from there, I wanted to ask you, like, when was the moment when it was clear that the film was going to take that shape, that it was going to have such treatment?
Yeah, thanks. It's a very interesting question, and it doesn't happen so often to receive interesting questions. So it's like you said, I totally agree with you. The film is based on the story of these two characters, one based in Italy and one based in Gaza. But in the end, is the story of one person, because the story of one is mirroring into the story of the other, and especially one character is constantly the shadow of the other, is an alternative possibility in the life of the other character, and vice versa. And I would say that since the beginning, when I was starting researching about the film, and I started to make some development shooting, I thought that it was very important to have these 2 points of view. So to talk in real steps, I got to know the guys, and when as soon as I spoke with one guy in Gaza from the Gaza parkour team, he told me that the founder of the team succeeded escaping from Gaza, and he was living as a political refugee in Italy. So I went to meet him, and I realized that Abdallah was besides being a very strong and courageous person, he was, I was sure immediately that he was going to be a very strong character. And in that moment, I thought, okay, this is a very strong, could be a very strong part for the film, but at the same time I thought, okay, but he's coming from Gaza, all his life, his past life is back in Gaza. So I said, I need, for me, something is missing. I need to find a character as well in Gaza and see what's going on. And then when I went to Gaza for the first time, I met all the guys from the team. And the first day I remember that I was very struck by Jihad, that actually is the person that founded the team along with Abdallah, and that now is carrying on, is keeping alive the team and teaching to the young generation. In that moment, I thought that he could have been the counterbalance of the story. And then beside the fact that both of them gives to the story and to the audience different shades of the same kind of life, let's say. But beside that, very soon I realized by some words that I was listening that there was something really strong and really big going on between the two characters, between Abdallah and Jihad. And this is what you were talking before, like friendship. Let's say a broken friendship, an unsolved broken friendship due to what the choice they have taken in the past, during their lives. And then I said, okay, this is for me, this is the perfect trigger for me to try to dig into this story and to try to tell this story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a broken friendship, and you can see it in the film. But then you don't see a reconciliation in the film. I want to go later there. Okay. Let's start with the basics. So for how long were you shooting this film? When did you start, and for how long were you following them?
Yeah, I started to film, to research about the film still in late 2015. But then I start to film the first scenes, the first, let's say, development scenes in spring 2016. And then we did the last shootings in mid 2018. So let's say that the shooting took place in an arc of 2 years. But then we finished the editing in 2019. So let's say that all the process took more or less among 3 and 4 years.
Yeah, and this I would like to talk a little bit about to put the audience in context about the situation in Gaza, because one of the reasons why we also don't get to see a reconciliation between these two friends is also because of the conditions, the lack of freedom that inhabitants from Gaza have, that if they leave, they can also face the situation of not being able to come back. So I want to ask you if you could explain us a little bit about that situation for the residents in Gaza.
Yeah. So first of all, I mean, I want to say that in the film, we gave some hints about the details of this situation, but at the same time we didn't want to explain it in details, because otherwise it would have been the film would have gone too much in that direction, in the direction of the siege, of the open sky prison and so on. Instead, I wanted to focus the story on the story of these two characters, and through their eyes and their lives try to have the big picture of what is going on around them. The situation is that is very, very, very difficult to be able to leave Gaza, almost impossible, I would say, because you need to ask for a visa, and asking for a visa, you need to have some good reason, like an invitation from another country. And then, even if you are very lucky and you receive a visa, then what happens? The people from the Gaza Strip, they can, the border of Gaza Strip is on the north with Israel, on the east with Israel, on the west there is the sea, and on the south is with Egypt. So the only border where people from Gaza could leave Gaza, could have access to the outside, is from the border with Egypt. The problem is that Egypt, since the Arab Revolution, they opened the gate, let's say they opened the border only 1 week, 2 weeks a year. So this is why I'm saying that it is almost impossible to go out, because even if you succeed to get a visa, maybe you have your visa that is lasting 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, but is not certain that in this period of time, the border with Egypt will be open. So it's very difficult. And even if you get the visa and the border is open, what happens? That the police from Egypt, they want you to pay money to allow you to go out. So there are so many conditions that it's very, very difficult, and it makes very difficult for the people from Gaza to leave. And the big let's say that the problem comes also later, because the decision of leaving the Strip is irreversible. I mean that people from the Strip, once they left, it's almost impossible that they will be able to go back one day. So it's this is why I think it's a very tough decision, because leaving the Strip means that you maybe, obviously, you are following your dreams. Maybe you are going to find your freedom in another country, but at the same time, you have to be conscious that you have to abandon forever, for good, all your culture, country, friends, family, feelings, language, and I think it's a very, very, very tough decision to take.
Yeah, and it's something that you feel in the film. There is a very big burden on Yehad, because he's there like trying to leave the country, but you can see how heavy it is on him, this idea of leaving his family behind. So I wanted to ask you about the experience of being there and seeing how people feel in Gaza about this idea of being trapped at home.
Yeah, so I think Jihad is a very peculiar person. He's extremely generous and also smart, I would say, but especially a generous person. So I understand that he has a position slightly different from all the other young guys coming from the Strip, because and also we see this in the film. Like he has built for himself a big role where he lives, because he carries on the team. He teaches to the new generations. He takes care of his ill father and old mother. No, like he's the one that takes care of his family, and therefore the decision to leave, even if he dreams since he was a kid, probably he dreams to go out to leave the Strip, to be able to come to Europe and build a new life, follow his dream and build a new life, build his future. Obviously, he has a big burden, maybe bigger than many other people. Instead, the perception, like after having been there, the perception is that most of the young guys in Gaza Strip, they just want to leave. They don't think about the consequences. They don't think about the fact that they won't be able to come back. They want to leave, and they are sure that just leaving and coming to Europe will make up their dreams. Will give them the freedom they are looking for since they are born. But I've seen this because I met other people during these years. I met other people from Gaza Strip that achieved to come out, to escape, and all of them. They don't think about this before, but once they are out, they start thinking about the consequences of their choices. And I would say that many of them start regretting a little bit what they have done, because they see that the burden of what they have lost might be bigger than the freedom they got escaping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this idea of freedom is something that is discussed in the film because of the situations that Abdallah is facing as an immigrant.
Yeah, for me, yeah. In fact, for me, I think that in the film we can feel and have many information about several topics, but for me, in the film, what I want, what my research, my personal research actually in the film was trying to find an answer to this big question. That is, which is the price of freedom. No, like what you are, what do you want to put at stake in order to follow your your concept of free, your idea of freedom? Because many times we discover, I mean, it's possible that we discover that our attempt of achieving freedom has a price too high compared to what we have imagined before. Mm-hmm. And in fact, what we clearly see in the film, and this is what I find very strong in the film as well, is the fact that Abdallah and the life he achieved to have in Italy was not much better than the life he had before in Gaza, minus the fact that he has lost his family, culture, friends, language, environment, home.
Yeah. And about that, I wanted to ask you about your emotional bond with the characters, because you, in the making of the film, you made a decision which was to be invisible in the film, you know? So I was wondering if there is something that you would like to share with us, things that we don't see regarding that emotional bond, since we don't see you as part of a film, but we know that you were there.
Yeah, I developed during the film. I developed a strong emotional bond with the characters, especially also with in general with the guys from the team, but especially obviously with Abdallah in Italy and Jihad in Gaza. For me, I would say that as in my previous films, or in general, as in all the work I try to do, all the films I try to do, I must say that for me, the base of the conditions through which I can develop a storytelling, I can try to see, to create a point of view over a reality and create a story. For me, the base is to create a connection, to create an emotional bond and a mutual trust, so that it's not that I, as a director, tell the story of a character. It's more that we do a journey together. But then, obviously, the life is the life of the character, and I try to focus on certain things that I find interesting about the life of the character. But in this process, we all may make a journey. And that's very important for me. And trying to answer to what you ask, I can tell you an anecdote that for me is very important. That when I started researching about the film, and I met Abdallah, and then I met Jihad when I was in Gaza, I understood that for me, in order to make this film as I wanted the film to be, it was very important not to spend few hours during the day with the character, with Abdallah or Jihad, and then going back to, I don't know, an apartment or an hotel or whatever. For me, it was very important to spend all the time with them, especially because leaving Abdallah in Italy and Jihad in Gaza, but in a very tough conditions, I thought that if we wouldn't have accept to live as well in that kind of condition, it would have been impossible to build a mutual trust and a real connection. So I asked we were a very small crew, because in Italy we were me, Matteo Del Bo, that is the director of photography of the film, and Adriano Alampi, the soundman. And in Gaza we were only me and Matteo Del Bo. But still, I asked to the crew, and they followed me very happily. When we were filming with Abdallah, we all stayed in the abandoned house with Abdallah. And when we filmed in Gaza, we had like 2 mattresses on the floor in a UN office. But then after the first day, we moved in the house of Jihad, because for me it was a key element to try to achieve that kind of intimacy that was necessary for to build the film as it is.
Yes, and I think that we can see it because we can see how close you are to them. And I wanted to ask you about a particular scene in Gaza. There is the scene of the protest at the border. It's a very strong part of the film because it's the part that has like the most clear political content in the film. And there is a moment when the Israelis, there is a bullet, they shoot someone, like they fire a gun, someone. And as I saw in the film, it's a bullet that goes like very close to all of you, or not, or like, what was the situation?
No, not close. I mean, not so close. Okay. No, let's say, okay, because first of all, I want to say I'm not a war reporter or a war filmmaker. So I'm not that kind of person that needs to be in the action in order to feel alive. No, not at all. I mean, for me, like I fall in love with a story, but I would prefer to fall in love with a story where there's no danger, obviously. But talking about that particular situation, like for me, it was very important to keep safe all the time the people involved in what we were doing. So obviously, like the situation is very tense and very dangerous, but all the time we always try to keep a little bit apart from the center of the action, because not only because I didn't want anybody of us to be hurt or killed, obviously, but also because the Israelis, like in the scene we see one bullet, but actually they shot a lot of bullets every day, and they hurted a lot of people. They killed a lot of people. And so obviously the safest way would have been not to film that moment, that scene. But at the same time, I always thought it was very, very important to try to show the reality as it is a little bit.
Yeah, because it's these are things that, as you say, happen on a daily basis, or whenever there are demonstrations.
Actually, because I can tell something about the political context. Mm-hmm. Like in December 2017, Trump announced that America would have moved his embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. From that moment, obviously in all Palestinian territories, a lot of protests arose, and in Gaza they tried to do a different kind of protest than before. They said, okay, if we use violence to fight violence, the world will keep on telling us that we are the terrorists. So they said, okay, let's try to make a totally pacific protest. So they started to gather every Friday, that is their day of holiday, every Friday they started to gather on the different part of the border of Gaza, just protesting and asking to be allowed to go back to their homes, because their homes are outside Gaza, obviously, because Gaza is originally a refugee camp. Mm-hmm. And then every Friday until from the beginning of 2018 until I would say the beginning of coronavirus. I mean, I think until beginning of last year. So for 2 years, every Friday they gather on the border, trying to ask the permission to go back to their homes, their former homes. And during these during these 2 years of protests, there have been, I think, like I'm not sure, I think more or less 2,000 killings and 20,000 hurted people, I think. So, I mean, every time they were gathering, every Friday, there were more dead people, more killed people assassinated, and more hurted people, injured people, and so on.
Yeah. I want to ask you, or I'm kind of curious. I'm very curious about asking you about your position regarding the Palestine-Israel conflict, but also in connection to the fact that this film has this conflict as a frame for a storytelling from a human. On a human level, let's put it that way, on a human level of what the everyday life is for a person who is there.
Yeah. So I have, obviously I have my opinion because I came to have my opinion. I built my opinion after having being in Gaza and after having been there. But I want to be very clear about the fact that I'm not an expert of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I mean, there's people that have studied this situation and the story of the area for decades. So I cannot pretend. I cannot not pretend, but let's say I cannot be so selfish to think that I have the truth. Okay, just my humble opinion that I built when I was there, after my experience there. In my opinion, the daily life, the day-by-day life in Gaza is very, very hard, especially for young people, but for everybody, because actually they are not allowed to move. Like they are obliged to live in this kind of prison that is 42 kilometers for 7 kilometers. So it's a very small area. The area is extremely crowded, and they cannot do anything. Like they cannot build anything because once they build something, the Israeli Air Force bombed it. They cannot survive based on their job because there are no jobs, there are no works. So they can survive only thanks to the help and the goods that arrive from outside. Also, these kind of goods are controlled by Israel because Israel can tell what is getting in Gaza and what is not allowed to get in. They rely on water and electricity supply from Israel. So it's Israel that decide every day when switch on and off the light and the water supply. And you know, obviously they survive, but it's really it's a strange situation because we cannot talk about war. A country at war is a different thing. In Gaza is not a situation of war, but is a situation of, you know, like, in my opinion, of dying very slowly, on having somebody that try to kill you slowly, day by day, drip by drip. This was my feeling. And I think, and in my opinion, is even worse than living in a country at war, because you in this situation, you never know if there will be ever an end to this situation.
Yes. So we're running out of time. So
sorry. I talk a lot, Manuel. Sorry.
The interview has been this conversation has been really interesting to talk about all this. Like after watching the film, it brings more information to the surface, and now we see also more of what was happening while you were shooting the film. So my last question is very simple. It's like it's about Jehad's and Abdullah's relationships. What happened? Did they get in touch? What happened with Yahed?
Yeah.
In terms of leaving the country.
Sure. So I want to add one thing that is about Jehad and Abdallah, and that will brings me to talk about this, about their relationship nowadays. So another aspect that we can see in the film, and in my opinion is really, really important, and is telling a lot about the situation of the people in Gaza, is this dynamic of betrayal. Like, we see that Abdallah achieved to leave Gaza, but in order to leave Gaza, he had somehow to betray his friends, Jehad, his best friend, and the other friends as well. And we can see that the other guys in Gaza, they are happy that Abdallah achieved to leave and succeeded following his dream. But at the same time, they feel hurted because they know he betrayed them. This kind of dynamic is really terrible for me, because it tells a lot about the situation, because it means that the only way for the people in Gaza to try to achieve their dreams, to try to live and make something and build their future, the only way is to betray their friends, their family, their country, to betray everything they had before. And this is very cruel. Obviously, is a psychological aspect, but it means a lot. And talking about the present, I would say that Abdallah have seen the film. Jehad and the other guys in Gaza have watched the film as well, because Abdallah watched it obviously because he's living in Italy, but the guys in Gaza, they watched the film because I gave them the chance to watch it, because it was very important for me to have their approval about the film as well. And after having watched the film, I think that, like, Abdallah was finally able to try to see the reality through the eyes of Jehad. And Jehad was able to see the reality through the eyes of Abdallah. And then after having watched the film, they call each other again and they reconcile. I'm not saying, probably, these kind of things I cannot know, because it's like such a strong friendship is like a love relationship. Like, you cannot be in the middle of a love relationship. You have to leave the people solve the things by themselves. But I would say that they talk, that now I know that they talk very often, and they work again together to try to keep the team alive.
Okay, yeah. It sounds like somehow as if the circle had closed,
Yeah,
This idea of being the same character and being together again is as if the circle is closed.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, Emanuele, thank you very much for this conversation. It was really enriching, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to show your film here in the festival. We hope to see more from you soon. So
thanks a lot, Manuel.
Yeah, and yeah, so hope to see you soon, and hope to see you live, in person.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So we all hope that's what the future is going to bring us.
Thanks a lot, Manuel, and thanks again to all the organizer of the festival, of the Budapest International Documentary Festival, and to the audience as well. I'm very happy that you watched the film, and I hope, as I always hope, that this story and the story of Jehad and Abdallah, connected with you, let you connect and and empathize with it and give you something as it has given to me during all the process of making this film. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emanuele, and to the audience of the festival. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't watched the film, then you should know that the film is now available after its premiere for the whole duration of the festival. And if you haven't watched the film and you are going to watch this, you can also watch this later, anytime during the whole duration of the festival.